Welcome to my channel Karma Romance Stories. Please like, subscribe for more videos.
Christmas was supposed to be the happiest night of the year. Instead, it became the night my own father threw me and my wheelchair-bound grandfather out into the freezing cold in front of the entire family. We stood in the snow with nowhere to go, while everyone inside laughed and locked the door. I thought we had lost everything. Then Grandpa looked at me and quietly said, "There is something I have hidden from everyone for more than 40 years." What he revealed that night destroyed every lie my father had built and changed our family forever. Stay until the end because every minute of this story leads to one unbelievable truth. Every Christmas, my family gathered at my parents' house for a huge dinner. From the outside, we looked like the perfect family. Inside those walls, everything was controlled by my father. He decided who was respected. He decided who deserved love. If anyone questioned him, they were treated like they did not exist. My grandfather had once been the strongest man I had ever known. Years earlier, an accident left him in a wheelchair. After that, my father slowly pushed him aside. He acted like Grandpa was a burden instead of the man who had sacrificed his entire life for the family. I stayed close to Grandpa because I knew the truth. He never complained. He never spoke badly about anyone. Even when people ignored him, he smiled and thanked them for the smallest kindness. That Christmas, I arrived early to help Grandpa into the house. He struggled with the icy driveway, but refused to let me carry him. He said every step reminded him he was still alive. Dinner started peacefully, but I noticed my father becoming angry. He complained that Grandpa was taking too much space. He mocked the wheelchair. He joked that old people only slowed everyone down. Nobody defended Grandpa.
My mother looked at her plate. My brother stayed silent. My sister pretended not to hear. The room became painfully quiet. Grandpa simply smiled and wished everyone a Merry Christmas. That made my father even angrier. He suddenly stood up and shouted that both of us were ruining the celebration. Before I could answer, he grabbed my coat and threw it toward the door. He told us to leave immediately. I thought it was only an empty threat. Then he opened the front door. The freezing wind rushed inside. He rolled Grandpa toward the porch while yelling that neither of us deserved to be under his roof. The door slammed behind us. The lights inside stayed bright while we stood alone in the freezing darkness. I felt broken. I apologized to Grandpa for bringing him there. He looked at me calmly and said, "This is not your fault." Then he asked me to push his wheelchair toward an old black car parked across the street. I had never seen that car before. Inside the glove compartment, Grandpa removed a small leather folder. He handed it to me. Inside were ownership papers for hundreds of buildings across several states. There were office towers, apartment complexes, hotels, shopping centers, industrial warehouses. The total estimated value was more than $4 billion. I stared at the documents in complete disbelief. Grandpa quietly explained that decades earlier he had built a successful real estate business. After becoming wealthy, he chose to live simply because he wanted people to love him for who he was instead of what he owned. He never told the family because he wanted to see their true character. Sadly, they failed the test. He smiled sadly and said, "Tonight your father made the biggest mistake of his life." The next morning, we visited the headquarters of the company. Employees greeted Grandpa with respect. Executives stood as soon as he entered. The receptionist welcomed him as chairman. I finally understood why everyone treated him with such admiration. Grandpa introduced me as the only family member who had remained loyal through every hardship. Later that afternoon, lawyers began reviewing every family trust, every inheritance plan, every ownership agreement. Everything changed. When my father learned the truth, he rushed to the office demanding forgiveness. He cried. He apologized. He blamed stress. He blamed money. He blamed everyone except himself. Grandpa listened without interrupting. When my father finished speaking, Grandpa quietly asked one question. "Where was your kindness before you knew I was wealthy?" My father had no answer. Weeks later, Grandpa donated millions to hospitals, homeless shelters, veterans' charities, and scholarships for disabled students. He believed wealth meant nothing unless it improved someone else's life. He transferred leadership of the family foundation to me because he said compassion was more valuable than business talent. Our lives changed forever. Not because of the money, but because truth finally defeated pride. Years later, every Christmas, we opened our home to lonely families, elderly neighbors, and anyone with nowhere else to go. Grandpa always sat at the head of the table, smiling. He reminded everyone that respect is the greatest gift anyone can receive. The mansion my father once fought to protect eventually became empty. The home filled with kindness became the place everyone wanted to visit. Grandpa passed away peacefully, surrounded by people who genuinely loved him. His final words to me were simple. Never measure people by what they own. Measure them by how they treat those who can offer them nothing in return. Every Christmas, I remember that freezing night. The night we were thrown into the cold became the night that revealed the warmth of true family forever. The voice you selected does not support this language. Please click the upper right corner to switch to another voice. Money did not reveal who Grandpa was. It revealed who everyone else had always been. Wealth can be hidden. Character cannot. The greatest inheritance was never the billions or the properties. It was the lesson that kindness always outlives cruelty and respect is worth more than any fortune.